In yesterday's lie, LUZ made a promise to her mother that she'll stay with her after she finds a way home. Unfortunately for Camila, it doesn't feel like she intends to keep it. Dana has stated in a live stream that she hates happy endings, which leads me to suspect that in the end, LUZ won't be able to freely and easily travel between the realms. It's just too convenient. So, if she really is forced to choose, even if temporarily, would she really live in Bonesborough over living with her mother in Connecticut? Let's find out. Quickly though, many of my regular viewers miss out by not subscribing. I'll be frequently creating Owl House videos, even during the hiatus, and being a subscriber lets you know whenever I do. To those of you who have subscribed, you're amazing and I can't thank you enough. If you want to help out even more, be sure to join my Discord, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to my Patreon for some awesome perks. Links are in the description. Now back to the video.
Yes, I am your teacher! You may call me Mr. King!
So before we get into the more concrete evidence for what the show is planning, let's discuss the most obvious reason she'd choose the Isles. Back on Earth, LUZ pretty much had nothing outside of her mother. Camila herself even points out in the first episode that LUZ has no friends. However, the opposite is true in the Demon Realm. LUZ has several friends now, and while I obviously don't need to go into detail about every single one of her relationships and why they'd keep her on the Isles, let's talk about her two most important ones, Eda and Amity. It's no secret that Eda is pretty much LUZ's adopted mother at this point, confirmed by her very blatant empty nest syndrome towards her and King in Eda's Requiem. Although she's known LUZ for a shorter period of time than Camila has, I don't think that makes her motherly connection any less valid. Do adoptive parents love their kid any less than biological parents? LUZ is the most important person in her life, as proven by Eda's words in Separate Tides, where she explicitly states that her life has vastly improved ever since LUZ entered it.
My life is pretty great because I'm friends with LUZ the human.
Basically, while you could argue that LUZ would never leave Camila because she's her mother, could you not also make a similar argument about Eda? Next, we need to talk about Amity. It's no secret that Dana Terrace has worked extremely hard to make Disney let Lumity happen, and she's definitely aware of the relationship's importance to queer representation in animation and media in general. Because of this, we can be pretty confident that the show isn't going to split them up. Now, while this doesn't necessarily mean that LUZ needs to stay in the Demon Realm to be with her, I don't think LUZ would want to pull Amity away from her siblings and the life she's made for herself on the Isles. Now, I'm not saying LUZ will never get a chance to have a date in the human realm, but if forced to make the choice, Amity will still be a reason for LUZ to make the decision to stay behind.
I'm so glad my awesome girlfriend is okay.
Now that we've got that reason out of the way, let's move on to a very telling moment in Hunting Palisman. The scene starts with LUZ saying she'd read stories like her own, and that in them, the main character always has to return home. The mere fact that this line exists pretty much tells us that the show plans to subvert this tired trope. However, that's not the only reason that this scene supports her staying on the Isles. This entire scene is about how LUZ can't see a life for herself without magic. In one of her proposed careers, she outright considers staying in the Demon Realm.
What if I stay on the Boiling Isles and become a rugged bounty hunter?
Realistically, she's not going to be able to make a career for herself with her magical skills in the human realm, especially considering that glyphs don't work there. Now that she's been gifted with magic, I don't think she'll ever want to return to a normal life either. As proved by the curator, humans definitely aren't ready to learn about magic yet. If LUZ wants to pursue her dreams, she needs to be in the Demon Realm. Finally, let's talk about why LUZ staying on the Isles makes sense to Camila's own character arc. As stated at the start of the video, when Camila makes LUZ promise she'll stay with her, she isn't exactly happy about it. She's asked to make the promise twice, only giving in the second time in a way that's hesitant and heavy-hearted. LUZ telling Camila what she really wants is clearly the right resolution to this plot point, and if going back to Connecticut isn't what she wants, then it's safe to assume that staying in Bonesborough is what she wants.
Let her stay!
She can make us snacks.
Now, don't get me wrong, Camila is a wonderful and loving mother who tries to do right by her daughter. However, she does what she thinks is right for LUZ. Instead of seeing the potential in LUZ's creativity and encouraging it, she decides to send her to summer camp to stamp it out. She does this because she thinks it'll stop LUZ struggling at school, but in reality, all Camila is really doing is inadvertently ensuring that LUZ remains miserable by forcing her to conform. This is what the conformatorian storyline in episode 1 is all about. Camila needs to understand that although magic isn't what she wants for LUZ, it's what LUZ wants for herself, which is a lot more important. Camila has her own life as a vet in Connecticut. Considering that she clearly isn't down with the whole magic thing, I highly doubt she'd want to live in Bonesborough, even if that's where LUZ chose to be. While having Camila live on her own seems like a tragic decision to make, because it would leave her on her own, she does now have another adoptive daughter in the form of V. While V definitely wouldn't replace LUZ, having her around would certainly help her cope with her daughter's decision. In fact, I think V was given to Camila to fulfill this specific purpose.
Who knew I had such a strong girl living under my roof this whole time?
In conclusion, The Owl House has always been a show about defying people's expectations for you, and finding a path that actually suits you. Sending LUZ back to the human realm after she's finally found her true calling just doesn't make sense to the show's messages in my opinion, and I truly believe if the show does make her choose, she'll ultimately decide to continue living in the Owl House. Please leave the video a like if you enjoyed it, as it lets YouTube know my content exists. Be sure to subscribe for more awesome Owl House content, and let me know what you think LUZ will choose in the comment section down below. Again, remember to join my Discord, follow me on Twitter, and subscribe to my Patreon. Links in the description. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.